This video contains spoilers for Attack on Titan, the final season, part 1. Welcome back, players. I'm Jack with 36 Cancel, and this is Coco the Weiss Cat. And actually, do you guys feel the ground shaking? It could be an earthquake, but I have this feeling that the rumbling has begun. Eren and the Colossal Titans are on their way to Weiss Schwarz again, as well as all the badass members of the Corps, like Armin, Levi, and the idol of muscle girl admirers everywhere, Mikasa. I might venture that Titan is one of the least waifu bait sets in Weiss Schwarz, but people make it work. But this time, things are different. It's the final season, kind of, and we've learned that the world of Titan is a lot bigger than Paradise. So in this new Titan set, we're joined by characters from all over the world, but notably many of the Marleyan forces like Reiner, Zeke, Piek, Gabi, Falco, and of course part of the 9 Titan shifters that aren't currently controlled by the Devils of Paradise. Now, while we have a lot of new faces in this expansion, Titan is nothing new to Weiss Schwarz. In fact, it's pretty famous in the game. For those who are newer to the game, Attack on Titan Season 1 and 2, which were reprinted in preparation for the release of the final season set, were the longest reigning champions of the English game. Titan Set 1 was the winner of the 2016 Worlds Tournament, and when Titan 2 came out in 2017, it won the 2017 Worlds Tournament as well. Outside of that, Titan Set 2 was absolutely the bully on the playground for a long time, years and years of expecting to play at least half your matches against the same Eren level 1 combo and Mikasa finisher. With the advent of more standby focus decks, Titan began to drop off the map and almost totally disappeared after Day-Day Live was released in 2021. But with the final season set, is this sleeping monster of Weiss Schwarz about to wake up again with sharpened fangs and new claws to tear through the game with? Well, that's something you're going to have to decide for yourself as we showcase the Attack on Titan, the final season, Weiss Schwarz set. So, for those not in the know, here are some basics about Attack on Titan. First, it's 4 colors with Eren and Armin in yellow, Mikasa and Krista, now Historia, in red, Levi and the Survey Corps in green, and of course the enemy Titans in blue. Green is also the trademark color of the Marleyan army, featuring Gabi and Falco. And blue, this time around, is also reserved for the warriors. Reiner is really the star of the show here, having the flagship level 1 and level 3 combo for the blue deck, which is pretty standalone from the rest of the set. Now, one of the major questions we had coming into this expansion was, will it play nicely with the Titan stuff that already exists, or will the traits kind of lock it out of integrated play, like SAO and SAO alicization? Well, the answer seems to be mostly yes. All the main cast from Paradise, despite how radically things have changed and shifted around, are all traded to core. Their second trait, however, changes mostly to Eldian, which is required for some of the cards to work. So Levi, Eren, Mikasa, Armin, and company can all be played without worrying about trait restrictions with the old stuff. Eren's Titan form even has 3 traits on some cards, being Titan, Core, and Eldian, just to make sure he's as flexible as possible. The odd ones out this time are actually the Marleyan warriors, which are kind of a mix. Sometimes they're Titans, sometimes they're not, but mostly they don't have any neat interactions with the old blue Titan stuff, and they're obviously meant to be standalone. And on that front, color me very disappointed because I was looking forward to a really cool revamped Titan deck. Another big question, however, is that being that this is an EN exclusive set, how does it stack up as a standalone thing? Sure, there are reprints of Titan 1 and 2, but it's a tough ask for newer players to buy into 3 sets simultaneously, even if everything at base rarity is cheaper than toilet paper by the foot. Well, considering that Blue now has its own standalone deck, and there are packages built into the set that are self-contained, it definitely stands on its own 2 legs, and anyone buying into the set by itself won't be disappointed by their deck building options. That said, naturally there are plenty of staples from the reprints that will take a lot of decks to the next level. In fact, the set pretty neatly delineates itself into the yellow and red package, a green package that you can splash red for, and a blue package. So as we move on to the specific set mechanics and collector's info, keep all this in mind. And speaking of those graphics, here are the mechanics for the final season. Now, the first thing you probably notice here is, no, the standby box is not checked. Titan did not get a standby climax because everyone knows that if it did, and it was legal to play with the older sets, things would get out of hand really fast. So none of that nonsense. No, in this expansion, Titan really seems to have doubled down on what it does best, which is being a consistent and techy 1k1 deck pretty much no matter how you build it. We have on-attack advantage combos at level 1, though some of them are on reverse with new and updated profiles like some of the ones we've seen in the more recent titles, like one that's pretty similar to Korone from Hololive. We also get some very solid early plays, something Titan was somewhat lacking in with his previous expansions. The final season introduces more hand filtering, of course, something Titan is very famously good at, including a new ODM that's kind of a combination between the 2 old ones, which is interestingly fitting in terms of flavor. But really, what the final season brings to the table is a litany of decent finishers. You have cancel burn finishers, burn X on attack finishers, quad kick plus burn, multi-attack, whatever you want. However you like to close the game, the final season really has you covered. In addition, Titan did get some other new tech, including some compression hate in the form of a Fumio Mikasa and an Icy Tail Gabby, as well as a free fresh backup because Titan wasn't quite obnoxious enough in the compression department. But enough about brass tacks. Everyone wants to know about the shiny cards, which is why we have this graphic here. In a strange development, the final season of Titan is actually the second set in English to be released not to feature regular SPs. Instead, the set has SSPs, which are overframe signature cards, SECs, which are gold-bordered alternate art, and Titan rares for the blue cards and a few yellow cards, which are overframe alternate art featuring the Dyne Titan shifters, as well as fantastic overframe Climax Titan rares. And these look incredible. All discussion about the card mechanics aside, people who are into Titan and want to see Attack on Titan on trading cards will not be disappointed by how this set looks. So with all this out of the way, it's time to talk about the cards themselves. Since the packages in the final season of Titan are pretty divided, I'm going to go by color here and start off with yellow. First, there's no better place to kick things off than with this iconic art of Eren getting dressed. This art is featured on a 2K drop searcher that gets +1 soul in the center middle position. It's a solid profile with an amazing looking SR version, but at 0 in yellow, Armin is really the new tech. In his new Colossal Titan form, he has a 1k 0 that gives something 2k on play, and if you top check a character, you can also pay 2 and free fresh with on play. I can't tell you how valuable it is to have the option to refresh your deck at any point in the game on demand, so this Armin is a colossal gain for the core. Armin in his human form, always with his strategic plans, has a new Brainstormer that's quite unlike anything we've seen before. He actually has 2 Brainstorm abilities, the first of which is a tap self salvage function. The second one is pay 2, rest him, and then for each climax revealed, you salvage a climax. Oddly enough, this isn't the first salvaging climax Brainstormer in English, but it's certainly the very first to be on a level 0 that also has a whole other solid Brainstorm ability. Look, this is just really cool, and super in flavor for Armin because under pressure, he is always the man with the plan. Alright, but we have to move on, because at level 1, we really start to see some of this stuff come together. Eren, Conversation at Sunset is base 4500 and gets +500 for each other character when you play him. With a choice climax combo, on reverse, search for an Eldian or core character and give another character +1k. The extra +1k is nice, because if you play more than one of him, he might not get the whole benefit of the on-play power. It means that you're generally going to hit around 7500 without other buffs for the reverse combo, and despite some big walls that exist nowadays, Eren can mostly climb over them even if he needs some help from his friends or ODM. And speaking of ODM, we have new gear for a new battle. New Omnidirectional Maneuver Gear is a 1-1 event that can be played during the counter step that says if you have 2 or more climaxes in your waiting room, choose one of these effects and perform it. Either A, choose a core character in battle and return it to your hand, salvage a character and discard a card, or B, choose a core character in battle, move it to an open position of your stage, and salvage a character. Before this, there were 2 ODM events which individually kind of had each of these abilities on them, except the moving ODM to your search instead of salvage, and you had to pitch for it. It's really in flavor that the new and improved model could kind of do both, with the minor restriction that you do need to have 2 climaxes in the drop zone. But it's worth mentioning that everything in Old Titan that interacts with ODM won't interact with this event, as it's called New ODM and not just ODM. Now, nothing terribly notable with level 2, so we're going to move straight into level 3 Yellow to showcase Yellow's totally new level 3 combos. First, Flock and the Jaegerists actually have a whole new package in Yellow. Flock has a 3-tier early play that sits at 11k if you have 2 backstage characters. His early play condition is that your opponent has a level 3 character, which, let's be honest, they will. His combo is that on attack with a choice combo, you choose one of your opponent's characters, send them back to their hand, and then salvage 2 characters of your own. Look, people are going to say this is jank, but those are the same people that get clowned on by crazy stuff like this. Anyway, more jank incoming. Armin, Fight Among Friends, lets you draw 2 and pitch 1 on play. His climax combo is on a choice, and on cancel, put the top 9 cards of your deck into the waiting room, and then burn X, where X is the number of choice triggers that you put into your waiting room this way. So obviously, this is something you'd play in an 8-choice deck, which actually has plenty of support both in red and yellow if you want to build that way, with cards that do things when you trigger choice climaxes. But if you want to play something a bit more iconic, we have Eren's flagship combo, an amazing SEC and Titan Mirror climax combo, Eren Titan Declaration of War. He gets +1k for each character in your backstage and on play heal. His combo is that on attack you can pitch a card and your opponent puts the bottom 4 cards of their deck into their waiting room, then you burn X, where X is the number of level 0s put into the waiting room this way. This is an incredibly efficient burn that costs almost nothing, so I'm a big fan of this one. I can see it being pretty threatening since it's so easy to do 3 times. But players, we need to move fast like the Jaws Titan because there's a lot more stuff to cover, so we're going to move right into red where we'll kick things off with Jean, Strengthened Resolve. Base 2k, he gets plus 1500 power if you have 2 or less stock, and when he reverses a battle opponent, you can choose a level 0 character in your opponent's center stage and put them in the waiting room, so 2 for 1 that can kill runners. Brutal, especially now. At 0, Historia also has a 500 power top checker that lets you salvage an X or lower character where X is the top card of your deck's level by pitching a card, and that can definitely help you filter out exactly what you need. But moving right along to level 1, it wouldn't be an Attack on Titan set without a signature Mikasa combo. Recovery Mission Mikasa is 4500 or 5500 if you're playing the game. She has a Climax combo on a gate, which is that when she attacks, you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, add an Eldian or core character or a new ODM card to your hand, and she gets plus 1k for the turn. It's very solid, it gets the new ODM gear, and she gets to 7500 with her Climax despite not needing to reverse her battle opponent. A strong combo for a strong woman, except when it comes to confessing of feelings apparently. Spoilers, the rumbling was all Mikasa's fault. Mikasa also gets some amazing tech at level 2, a true free fetch counter, 2-1 2500, and you can pay an extra 2 to free fresh. Every set that this profile appears in has it as an absolute staple in most decks, and I'm sure that Titan will be no different. Now moving on to level 3, we have some really cool stuff. Jean Covering Fire is an awesome new level 3 toolbox. When he comes into play from your hand, you can choose any character from your hand whose level is equal to or lower than yours, play them for free, and give them plus 2k for the turn. He also gets plus 500 for each other character on your stage. Now if that wasn't enough to cantrip for a level 3, he has a Climax free burn ability. On attack, pay 3 and pitch 2 to burn 4. It's expensive, but man, it's one hell of an option to have access to depending on how the turn plays out, especially since you basically play him at no cost when combined with your finishing combo. But for an actual finishing combo, we have Sasha Wandering the Forest, and this one is really cool. On play, salvage a character, and with her combo on a gate, at the end of her attack you can pay 2 and pitch 2 and put her into your memory. When you do, choose a core or Eldian character in your waiting room that is not a copy of herself and put it on the stage where she was. Now many players will be reminded of Rimuru from Slion 2 or Takemichi from Tokyo Revengers. However, you'll notice that unlike these two, Sasha cannot recur herself from the waiting room. Now while that's not as strong as those two on its own, that's because Sasha has another level 3 that works with this combo. But to see that, we're going to have to move into green. And as not to bury the lead, the level 3 in question is Gabby Fatal Shot. Yeah, brutal, right? Anyway, she sits at 11k if you're playing the game, and when you play her or bring her into play with Sasha Wandering the Forest, you can heal. Finally, she has an Icy Tail ability where you pay 2 and pitch 1, mill the bottom 4 of your opponent's deck, and deal X where X is climaxes, and she gets plus 1k for the turn. So yeah, imagine Sasha replacing herself with another attacker that's also a healing Icy Tail. Potentially a super brutal finishing combo, even if it is pretty expensive to pull off considering that this is the only one of its profile that isn't on a choice trigger to help build stock. But let's face it, we're not in green for Gabby, we're here for Levi. And Levi does not disappoint with his trademark art for the set featured on Levi Merciless Assault. This 1500 pay 1 clock 1 searching Ricky also gets 1k power every time another Eldian or core character attack. So in addition to being a very strong searching Ricky, he also gets to 3500 to cut through even the biggest of level 0s. Make no mistake, this one's super good. At 0, and also hailing from the OG Survey Corps, Hanj has a pretty interesting 1500 level 0 too. On attack, she gives another one of your characters, including herself, 1500 power, and she has Hand Encore. Yeah, straight up Hand Encore on level 0. That's pretty nuts all things considered. You know what else is pretty nuts? This Falco. This is Green's new level 1 combo, and it might sound a bit familiar. He's 4500, and on attack you can give any character plus 1500 power, and with his Climax combo, which is on a bar, you can give any character on reverse salvage. So this is kind of like Korone from Hololive, though you can stack his power and abilities on any combination of characters you want, meaning that you only need to win one lane to salvage 3 with a full field, and you can give that lane plus 4500 power total. This makes it way more consistent than other reverse combos and extremely difficult to play around. Divvying up like this also gives you a lot more options when deciding your attacks and stage setup, so this is a really awesome combo. Falco also gets a really nice early play in green, 2 or less climaxes to pitch 1 stock heal with 10k power. Yeah, it's basic, but this profile is tried and true solid. I love paying 1 stock for a 10k 2-soul body that heals. But again, we all know you guys aren't here for Falco, you're here for Levi. And Levi doesn't forgive, and he doesn't forget, showcased brutally with his new level 3 combo, Levi Deep Grudge. During your turn, he gets plus 500 for each other character, and on play, you top check 3 and add 1. His combo is that on reverse, you can pay 2 and pitch 2. If you do, clock kick his battle opponent and then deal 2 damage to your opponent. Make no mistake, this looks expensive, but it's a crazy powerful finisher. Consider that to activate 2 of these, you only need 4 cards in one stock when you move the attack phase and attack 3 times. This brutal finisher is perfect for Levi's flavor, and it's a great way to cap out green, and for that matter, the core portion of this set showcase. This leaves us with blue, which in the final season is very standalone and kind of builds its own deck. I hesitate to even call it an enemy faction deck with how the dynamics are in the show, and how it's not so much of a gimmick with cool abilities, as it is just its own separate package that runs like a normal deck for the most part, but doesn't really intermingle with the rest of the set very much. Now they do have the Eldian trait, which means you can play them with some of the other newer combos, the Keyword Decor or Eldian, but it's pretty clear that they're designed to be played in the Warrior deck, since the moment you mix even one old Titan card into your deck, it's completely off rate for these cards, and the deck suffers. At level 0, we can start out with Zeke and the Beast Titan. Zeke, succeeding the Beast Titan, is 2k and gets plus 1k if you top check on play and find an Eldian character to put under him as a marker. And at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you can mill the top card of your deck, and if it's an Eldian character, he can run to an open spot on the center stage. This makes him a 3k runner even if both abilities do have some probability to miss, which, while not the most consistent thing, still makes him very solid. Zeke in the Beast Titan form also has another level 0 that top checks, but if you see an Eldian or Titan character, it gets plus 2k for the turn, sitting at base 1500. When it goes to the waiting room, you can pay 1 and clock yourself to top check 2 and add all Titan and Eldian characters. Now since he has the Titan trait and keywords to Titan, you can put him with the old blue Titan stuff if you want, which could actually go a long way in keeping your hand up. Or it could just dampen your ability to reliably use Predation Titan, who knows. But it's obviously a staple in any new blue deck in the final season. We also couldn't have a self-contained blue deck without its own Brainstormer, and Piek actually gives us 2 choices, 1 Titan and 1 human. Piek Mediator gives the character in your center stage hand encore, and is a Rest 2 Mill 5 Brainstormer that salvages a character for every Pants climax you hit. Again, very clearly meant to be played in this specific deck. Piek's other Brainstormer gives a character plus 1k at the start of your climax phase, and is a non-tap Brainstormer where you search for a Titan or Eldian character and then pitch a card. Since she's a Titan and searches Titans, she's also an option for the old Titan deck. It's a good option to have. Anyway, let's move on to level 1 and showcase the signature blue combo, Reiner Haunted by His Own Advice. 4500, and during your turn he gets plus 1500. When he attacks, if Reunion, a Pants climax, is in your climax zone, you can pitch a card. If you do, and you have 4 more other Eldian characters, you can mill the top 2 cards to your deck, and then salvage up to 2 X or lower characters, where X is the combined level of those cards. Now this is a pretty cool upgrade to the normal cigarettes combo, because the whole salvage 2 thing gives you a lot more opportunity to salvage exactly what you want from the waiting room, even though this isn't a specific salvage. The full field requirement can be a bit of a sticking point when you're trying to play out of a bad spot though, and definitely watch to make sure you have enough playables to support it when you hit level 1. Now the rest of the blue level 1 is a lot of stuff that gains power on attack or on play, so we're going to move right to level 2. There's a fairly important level 2 Falco that gives every level 3 in front of it plus 2k, and when you trigger a Pants, you can pitch a card to salvage a character, basically allowing you to turn your Pants triggers into gate triggers on command. This is pretty important for a Pants deck, but he's also a requirement for the deck's early play. But before we talk about that, one other thing to briefly mention is that Zeke also has a level 2 Climax combo that has early play on 4 more characters that you sacrifice the Climax to search 2 characters with on attack. It's not too amazing, but it's an option. Anyway, now we move on to the end game for the blue deck. But before we hit quite the end, we do have an early play Zeke that stock heals. His early play condition is to both have the level 2 Falco that gives power in front, and the Mill 5 Brainstorming Piek on the stage. So obviously these are 2 important components if you decide to run Zeke, which, let's be honest, the deck is very much designed that you do. Speaking of healers, Reiner has a 10k healer that you put into the waiting room at the start of your climax phase to change into the finisher Reiner from your waiting room for free. Honestly, I don't know why they just don't put the heal on the finishing Reiner. I've never understood these weird ability splits with the free changes. But anyway, Armored Titan Show of Resistance is the blue deck's finisher. Base 9k, but if you're playing the game, he gets plus 1500 and hand encore. His combo, of course, is on a Pants, and on attack you can pay 2 and pitch 1. If you do, reveal the top 9 cards of your deck, and burn X twice where X is the number of Pants triggers you reveal, and then shuffle your deck. So a few things here. First, unlike many versions of this ability, you actually get to reshuffle all of your climaxes back into your deck, so you don't have to worry about decking yourself out of triggers or leaving yourself super uncompressed. Second, this is more expensive than some of the other profiles like this, but the thing is, you deal X twice, not once. So if you reveal 3 climaxes, you burn 3 twice. And you know what? That's a lot of damage, especially if you're sitting on a really compressed deck. I have to say, this is really hot of flavor because this time Reiner isn't a major disappointment who can't do anything right. And this, players, is where we cap off this Titan set showcase. There was definitely a lot to cover here, and make no mistake, there's some really cool new stuff. We've got a lot of options here. Whether you're just buying in for the first time or brewing with both new and old, you really can't go wrong. And I think that shows some really strong design on Bushi's part, so props to them. And again, if you've got a friend who likes Attack on Titan, this stuff makes for some really awesome gifts, or, just treat yourself if you want. Either way, look forward to more Weiss content soon, and as always, thanks for watching. Peace.